I was walking around Old City, Philadelphia, when I received a tip from Ben Franklin. I'm no dummy, so I kept my eyes peeled out for that particular shop, or shoppy, as Ben might say. And then suddenly there I was, being greeted by a beautiful young gallerist named Alexandra and her faithful dog, Levick. And inside was an artist presiding over her wonderful show.
Hi, I'm Natalie Hope McDonald. I'm an artist living and working in Philadelphia.
Is there a little bit of irony in thanks for shopping?
Of course. How could there not be? It's a little bit of an ode to Andy Warhol. He made pop art become such a commodity in a way. He took things like soup cans and made them into fine art. I took paint cans and wrote on them to advertise the show. And those pieces are actually selling too, which I think is fun too. It's part of the whole satire of it all. There's definitely a tongue-in-cheek element to thank you for shopping. I wanted people to laugh a little.
Alexandra, It looks like you have a lot of sales. Are you pretty impressed with how this show's going?
Incredibly impressed. We're so happy to have Natalie Hope McDonald here at PII Gallery.
And apparently Spike Lee agrees.
He's been one of my better collectors, in addition to just regular folks. I have a collector out in Montana who buys things all the time. I'm so fortunate.
Don't talk about that collector near Alexandra. She'll want a cut.
That's true. That's true. I haven't sold any of this to her yet, but.
Natalie, I have never met you before, and I've never stepped foot in this gallery before.
Well, PII Gallery has been around for more than 3 decades. So when they invited me to do an exhibition, I was super excited. I love the space. There's a comfort to the space. And I also like that it's divided into 2 separate spaces because I knew I was interested in showing radically different work. So the front is featuring some of my larger abstract paintings, and the back of the gallery is geared toward my 3-dimensional pieces, heavily text-based work.
Let's talk about each body of work separately, starting with the paintings.
They're abstract cityscapes inspired by my walks here in Philadelphia and also New York City.
What are your materials?
They're mostly mixed media. They do have an acrylic base. I also use oil paint pens, pencil, and a few other ink mediums.
Often they are vertical diptychs.
It's funny, I've really liked diptychs for a long time. When I initially started doing them, it was for a very, very practical reason. I used to paint in my parents' attic, and I couldn't get large canvases upstairs when they were stretched, so I would start putting canvases together to create bigger pieces. When I thought about doing this exhibition and creating larger works, I wanted to revisit that same concept. I love the split between 2 canvases that create one piece.
They're very expressionistic. Are you influenced by people like Basquiat?
Oh, I think Basquiat is a brilliant artist. I think any abstract or expressionistic artist is probably influenced by him to a certain extent. More than anything, I believe street art is a big influence for me. I spend so much time walking around cities. That's probably the biggest influence, more than other artists, is what I see on the streets, partial graffiti, the energy of the streets, the different color sounds, words. And I think it depends on when you find your own voice. I wish I had found it when I was 25. I think I was still learning then. I think this is more my authentic voice than it's ever been.
I noticed on some of your paintings, there is a word, usually in pencil, and it's small, but is that the key to the painting on some level?
Yes, it usually is a part of the title. I wanted to connect with the other side of the exhibition because it's so word heavy, so text heavy. I wanted to have some semblance of that in the painting a little bit, but I didn't want it to be overwhelming. So it's very, very faint, and it's something you have to look for.
Yeah, I noticed it, and I liked it. You mentioned that you studied English literature. Did you also study art?
I went to Lebanon Valley College, little tiny school near Harrisburg, PA. I actually started taking art classes at the college when I was still in high school. So they didn't have an art major per se, but I took tons of art classes. I guess I would be an art minor. And I was almost a philosophy major. I think I was short 2 credits, so.
Tell me about the rest of your life.
My first job out of college was actually working at an art gallery. And then I went on to work as a journalist for many different publications. At one point, I was working half the time as a journalist, half the time as an artist. And then I thought, I don't know if I want to write anymore. I think I'm just going to do art. And then as soon as that happened, I started writing all over my art. So apparently, I'm not going to stop writing. It's still part of what I care about very much.
Okay. Nuts and bolts, where do you live?
I live here in Philadelphia. I live near the rail park. So I'm in the industrial area that's been building up like crazy. Now there's apartments everywhere. I have a studio in my apartment, and I have a storage unit that contains all of the finished work. It's been pretty prolific, so I have a lot of stuff.
Talk about your objects.
All of the pieces in the secondary room are reclaimed. They're reclaimed wood. They're things that I've created from old pre-owned pieces that have a history. I love that part of it, that they have histories already, and I'm building another history on top of them.
Where do you get those vases?
I find them all over thrift stores, on the street. I'm attracted to the shapes, the sizes.
This little milk carton, was it cardboard? How did you stabilize it?
It's actually ceramic. I found it. I had it for ages, and I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do with it because I loved it so much, and I didn't want to ruin it with my art. So I had to figure out what I wanted it to be, and I was obsessed with it for a long time. I just sat and stared at it for a good year. Then I just started writing on it.
My wife and I are big fans of Antiques Roadshow, and sometimes they have these wonderful vases with some writing on it, and usually it's self-trained potters. Is that an influence?
I haven't really delved into that. I do love Antiques Roadshow. We watch it a lot. I'm always looking to collect something that's going to end up being worth $1 zillion that I found at the Goodwill. Hasn't happened yet.
Because you're a watcher of Antiques Roadshow, you probably have not painted over a Tiffany vase.
I hope I haven't, but usually I have people that check things for me before I start painting on them.
Okay. All right.
My basis for using the vessels and the more three-dimensional pieces was just to find out what my writing would do if I didn't write on a flat surface. It was more experimental, and I really ended up enjoying it.
So technically, you start with a flat color that you paint over the vase. What do you use to get the words on?
A lot of paint markers.
Are the words carefully pre-planned and measured?
I prefer to not sketch things out in advance. I like the immediacy of going right to the surface of whatever it is I'm working on. It's more authentic to me. It makes me think about spatial relationships as well as the significance of the words.
Well, see, this is what really amazes me. You get the words, the letters are about the same size. It's not like you have to shrink them down to 0.6 picas to fit in. They stay the same size. And if you're just doing this like a jazz musician riffing and end up right with the last word in the bottom right corner, how do you do that?
I secretly want to be a jazz musician riffing. I have no musical talent, but this is how I sort of feel music and feel poetry. I think it's a little bit of synesthesia for me, where the emotions are very much tied to the way the letters are written. Yeah, it's definitely part of the free flow experience.
There's some quotes, but mostly...
Yeah, it's mostly my own, and I will throw in lyrics here and there. I might be thinking of something, and it reminds me of a song. I go back to these country roads I used to drive on when I was younger, and a song would be on the radio, and I try to mix all of that together to come up with one little moment in time, one little snapshot.
From punk rock days, Blondie and David Byrne.
Yeah, that was the 70s and 80s. I maybe am a bit nostalgic for that era because I was a little too young to experience it. I never got to go to CBGBs. I never got to go to those great clubs in New York, but I love the music. It definitely inspires my work. I've wanted to create something where the writing I do is free flow poetry and stories mixed with music, because I think a lot of my ideas come that way. We might be thinking about one thing and then a song pops into our head. So the connection between the two is very fluid for me.
In some of your writing, I can detect multiple voices.
Dialogue, I think of it as things you hear when you're sitting at the bar and it's busy and you hear all these snippets of conversation. I really love to recreate something like that in a physical form.
Speaking of bars, there's an allusion or two to McGlinchey's, which I've been to back in the day. Is it still pretty much the same as ever?
You know, I haven't been to McGlinchey's in a long time, and I understand it's closed. We spent a lot of years at McGlinchey's. I do love a good dive bar. I don't drink anymore, but I will.
I don't either.
I know. I still love to go to a dive bar. I love Dirty Frank's.
Sometimes friends will send you a book. It's the kind of book you don't have to start in the first page and end on the last page. And you can just open it anywhere and read for a while and then stop. Do people read the entire vase?
Oh, I can't imagine they do. I don't always read them entirely. I love the fact that you can pick up anywhere and just read something. Some folks have told me that there are certain things that pop out to them. So it maybe isn't about the whole piece. Maybe it's just about a part of the piece.
Some of your writings allude to childhood and summer nights playing on the lawn.
I do look to my own life and experiences for subjects, and sometimes it's a little bit nostalgic. Sometimes it's funny. I am drawn to certain subjects for sure more than others. You want to tell the stories that were important to you.
Let me ask you one hard question. You don't hyphenate, but you break words up sometimes, and sometimes it's a little hard to read it. Do people complain about that?
I haven't heard that. They probably do. I imagine there's always somebody complaining about something, but I like that it's a little challenging because life's a little challenging. And it also, for me, it makes me think people might have to pay a little more attention to what they're looking at. We read so much typed text. We're always on our phones and computers, and we don't see a lot of handwriting. So the idea that things are broken up a certain way or might be a little different, I think makes us stop for a moment. And what are we reading? How does it make us feel?
What's the emotional range within these word objects?
Pretty substantial, and it's mixed. In one piece, you might find yourself laughing about something, and then it might also hit you a little bit if it's focused a little bit on grief. Grief is a big part of what I've been thinking about. I lost both of my parents.
Recently, or?
My mom died quite a while ago, and my father died a few years ago. So that inspired me actually to do the box pieces. When I found myself packing up his apartment, I was putting everything in boxes. We keep so many things in boxes. How do we make that decision of what to keep? And I wanted people to be able to peek into boxes and read something that I decided was important or that I wanted to say or keep. So actually, some of that was inspired by a really tough experience for me.
I'm looking right behind you. I dreamed last night that you came back, you were healthy and smiled, but I was so angry that you left in the first place.
Yeah, that was about my mom. She died when I was in my 20s, and yeah, I miss her. I do dream about her sometimes. I wish she could be here. I wish we could sit down and have tea and catch up.
I hope she watches my YouTube video in heaven.
I hope she figures out how to use a computer. That'd be great.
This is just so reassuring to me here. I'm getting old and cynical, but I never thought I would have liked this show as much as I do. And it's really wonderful. And yeah, it's an enormous pleasure to see your show and meet you, Natalie.
It is such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I'm so glad you came.
Oh, yeah, I am too.
Your questions were fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. My house may not exist after tonight.
Oh, no.
But I didn't think about that while I was talking to you, which is a blessing.
Here's to all the people ashore. I hope it's safe. I hope the storm passes pretty quickly.
Thank you. Thank you.